So the car's heading round to the grid, and the track almost dry on our side of the circuit at least now. Everybody has gone with the slick tyre, but there's still one or two damp patches offline. They're going to have to be careful. It's going to be a bit of an exploratory first lap or two, but in British touring cars you can't hang around for too long. You can't be too cautious or you will get overtaken aplenty. So the car's making their way, led by Tom Ingram, who had that brilliant lap yesterday in the dry, and all of the top 10 on the soft tyre, the white sidewall tyre. Mikey Doble's the first one on the hard tyre in 11th place. Sam Osborne on the red sidewall hard tyre, it starts 14th, and Dan Rowbottom has opted to get the hard tyre, the slower tyre, out of the way. But if you finish in the top three in the race, you have to, in race two, use that harder tyre now. Gordon Shedden, the other one that's gone with a hard tyre, he's starting right at the back of the field. So it's 15 laps of racing. The car's being led round for the standing start. Tom Ingram only 8 points behind Ash Sutton. Ash behind him on the grid, starting in fourth place. Dan Rowbottom in the middle of the grid, the driver third in the standings, 15th place on the grid for this one, looking to move forwards, perhaps in races 2 and 3, once he gets the hard tyre out of the way. So here we go, using the island version of the circuit. They'll charge in a moment or two down towards Old Hall Corner. The last few cars are still making their way down into Lodge Corner, and if you're at the back of the grid here, you can't even see the start finish line because you're down the bottom of the dip on the exit to Lodge, which drops downhill before you come uphill over the crest to Deer Leap. So it's a tricky start for those at the very back of the field. Josh Barrett and me, Chris Hartley, then in the commentary box to talk you through the first race of the weekend, or the first race of the weekend for the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. It's round 13 of the 2025 season. The anticipation builds here. Can Tom Ingram turn this into his second race win in as many weekends this season? All eyes fixed on the gantry. We've got one driver, though, which is Finn Leslie, with an issue. We can see on the ITV pictures he's got the door open, which is a signal to the marshals that he's got a problem. So there might be a delayed start here, and indeed the start delayed board comes out. He's held aloft from the marshal on the starting gantry. So an issue, I'm afraid, for Finn Leslie's Toyota.
What a horrible way to start his career in the BTCC.
Yeah, and you know, it's been a difficult one, hasn't it? Because it's a really tricky circuit to learn anyway, and he's had all this mixed weather to deal with yesterday and today. So tricky for him, and Josh, looks like they're going to push that car, or try to push that car off the grid, but it's an uphill push. That's not going to be easy.
I just wonder if that uphill section actually perhaps caught him out. If he's done any practice starts, it might have been more on a level, wouldn't it? And there are processes to go through when a car is at that like that, and a BTCC car is like no other, is it? He actually didn't line. Did he line up quite where he should have been? Anyway, there's going to be another green flag formation lap while they sort that problem out, Chris.
Yes, so they're trying to push him up the hill and out of the way. Should have been lining up 21st on the grid, right behind Stephen Jelly, but the car stationary at the moment, so they're going to push him into the pit lane entry, aren't they? The
car came in behind Nick Halstead, so also didn't quite line up where he was anticipating to, so whether the car cut out before he even got to his grid box. But as Alan said, that described it absolutely horrible start to Finn Leslie's BTCC career. Yesterday, it seemed went pretty well. Chris sort of within the pack with his lap times, which was always a good way to start, particularly when you've not really had any time in the car.
Certainly held his own. He's been racing this year in the TCR Championship and got a podium finish last weekend at Croft, just 17 years of age. He has just passed his driving test, we found out yesterday, on the roads. But a fraught start for Speedworks, the local team who are based just 10 miles from the circuit, who run those Toyotas. Christian Dick's team, because they've had a problem with Aaron Taylor-Smith's air jack on the grid. They couldn't get the car down, so that had to be all done manually, and that was leaving it late before the cut-off time. And then they've got this issue now with Finn Leslie's car. They've got Gordon Shedden right at the back of the field, so all their hopes and aspirations lie on James Dorlin, who did another terrific job yesterday, didn't he?
The engine's running on the car. They're pushing it quickly with 4 marshals and 2 team members down to the Speedworks garage, but the engine, I don't know if you could hear that in the background on the radio, Mike, but it is running, yeah.
So that's possibly gear-related issue, I don't know, but best he can hope for is to start from the pit lane, but the car's already halfway around the formation lap now. So James Dorlin, 5th on the grid. Last time he raced here, I spoke to him yesterday, it was 3 years ago in British GT. He's not raced around here since, so rather different, but he's getting there, isn't he? 5th in qualifying at Thruxton in really wet conditions, and 5th yesterday as well.
Yeah, had 2 good races to start the weekend off at Thruxton, getting a couple of 7th places. He thought the final race of the weekend would go well. He went from pole position. The start didn't quite go to plan, and then as the race went on, there was car problems for him as well, and more car problems on this second green flag lap, Chris.
Yeah, it is one of the Team Virtue Hyundai's that he's looking, well, is it just backed off or has it got a problem? I think it's just backed off, hasn't he?
That caught me out.
Very slow. It almost came to a stop, didn't it? It was slightly scary. It was Tom Ingram, but I was just trying not to be on the grid for too long. I think is probably the issue there. If you get to the grid too quickly, you're going to be sat there for a minute, which is not good for you, for the car. So he almost came to a stop coming out of Druids, but don't panic, everybody. He's fine.
Yeah, apologies for that. One lap has been removed from the race distance, hasn't it, for this extra green flag lap? So now it's a 14 lap race for round 13 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship here at Oulton Park, and this extra 5 minutes or so has just allowed those damp patches to get that bit drier around the circuit, hasn't it? So bringing more overtaking opportunities into all of this. One person to watch surely here at the start, Chris, is Ash Sutton. His starts have been absolutely stunning this year, particularly the last couple of meetings at Snetterton and at Thruxton. He went from 4th to 1st, and where does he start today? 4th on the grid. So
drive shaft for Finn Leslie. Drive
shaft, well, that's not going to be a quick fix. That's a real shame. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, Tom Ingram said yesterday, it was a great pole position, loved it, but if Ash has one of those starts again, it's going to be for nothing. So Tom Ingram, second in the championship, on pole. Chris Smiley, Independence Championship leader alongside Dan Camish, and the championship leader Ash Sutton are on row 2. James Dorlin and Adam Morgan complete the third row of the grid as the green flag is waved. 14 lap races it now will be. The 5-second board is held aloft, and the first race of the day is about to get underway here at Oulton Park. The red lights come on, anticipation builds, the clutches are dropped, and away we go, and it's a perfect start for Tom Ingram. Great off the line, and a really good start as well for Dan Camish, who's drawing alongside Chris Smiley on the way into turn 1, gets down the inside into Old Hall Corner and gets through. So Camish up to second place, Smiley third, a bit wide on the exit for Dan Camish, but he holds it together in the Ford Focus. Sutton got an okay start but couldn't quite find a way past the Hyundai, but now he does go round the outside at the bottom of the hill down through Cascades, trying to draw alongside, and I think he's done it on the exit, so he has. So down to 4th place now for Chris Smiley as their break on the damp patches here on the way into Island Bend. Tom Ingram leads. He's a car length or so clear of Dan Camish in second, Ash Sutton in third, Chris Smiley down to 4th place, and Adam Morgan and Tom Chilton are next up because James Dorlin has lost 2 places down to 7th as they come over Hilltop for the first time. Break, make their way through the Hislop chicane, all looking under control. Nobody's slipping or sliding at this part of the circuit. Looks fairly dry. Josh Cook having a big old battle here at the moment to try and hang on to 8th and try to get up to 7th position if he can. And one of the BMWs there running wide, which is Charles Rainford, who's held 9th off the line, but he's possibly going to drop back to 10th place by the time they get to Druids.
And Josh Cook did take 7th place there, Chris, away from James Dorlin, who hasn't had the best of starts to his race that he would hope. But it was interesting to see, wasn't it, down to the Island hairpin. That's the dampest part of the circuit, which is the best overtaking opportunity traditionally around this circuit. But it's gone perfectly for Tom Ingram. Not so well for Chris Smiley from the front row of the grid, but Ingram has absolutely gone away from the pack on lap 1.
Perfect start for him as they go to Old Hall Corner for the second time. Camish and Sutton next up with Smiley and Morgan kind of with them as well. 4 in the battle for second place as they go through. Side-by-side action as Max Hall pulls off a nice move down the inside on the way into turn 1 at Old Hall Corner to try and get himself closer to the points at the inside of Dexter Patterson. You've got Dan Lloyd in that battle as well. Lloyd was alongside him. They are now just in 19th and 20th positions as Sam Oswald goes wide, loses a place to Darryl De Leon. Darryl is with his own teammate alongside as they barrel now into the braking zone for Island Bend. Aidan Moffat sneaking ahead of him but running wide at Island Bend, smoking the tyres. The Scottish driver running out wide onto the curbs, still just about scrambling it, and then Osborne gets into contact and spins. It was with Stephen Jelly. They're both spun coming out of Island Bend into the barriers for the Ford Focus, backwards and on the grass for Jelly in the Honda. It'll take them both a while to get going again on that damp grass. A replay of what we're getting on the big screens now, what's triggered all that on the way into Island Bend, 3 abreast. Jelly trying to get at the inside, and then there was contact between his front left corner and the right rear of the Ford Focus. 2 didn't fit into 1. The Ford ended up in the barrier, the Honda ended up facing backwards, and they both dropped right to the back of the field, I'm afraid, and what's been a really torrid weekend for Stephen Jelly, and that has brought out the safety car.
Yeah, I think both cars might have got going, but it's the barrier damage perhaps that's triggered the safety car. It pulled away a lot of the the softening in front of the barrier, so that needs to be put back in place. But that started badly for Sam Osborne at Cascades, didn't he? Run out wide, and that allowed Darrell de Leon and Aidan Moffat to sneak through as he tried to regain positions at Sam Osborne down there at the Island hairpin. You say, I'm not sure if he realised sort of Stephen Jelly was trying to draw alongside, so as he then defended it, put both cars off the circuit.
I've got good news for Aaron Taylor-Smith's car. I was worried about the mechanics still working on the car on the grid too late, i.e. past the cut-off point. No, everything is clear, I've been told.
Good. Yes, it was tight, wasn't it? But got to go. Yes,
very tight.
Stephen Jelly has gone past us. So yesterday he had an exhaust manifold issue in the first free practice session, which curtailed his running. He didn't get out until right at the end of the second session. I think there was a potential engine change there as well, and he was kind of straight into it in qualifying. So it's been a really tricky weekend, as he said. He's been a winner here in the last few years as well. One of the drivers that's won a race here in the last 3 years, but hasn't been in a touring car here for 2 years because he was like Dan Lloyd, went back to racing the Porsche Carrera Cup last year. If you're near a big screen, we get a replay of the start from the ITV pictures and the perfect hook-up for Tom Ingram. Really good start for Dan Camish as well. Just came slowly after the Hyundai of Chris Smiley. Got the line, got the inside, got through. And then Ash Sutton managed to get past him as he came out of Denton's, the right-hander, down into Cascades.
Tyres back on Finn Leslie's car. The car dropped down off the jacks. It's pushed back into pit lane. So that's really good news. Finn has got a new drive shaft in that car. He's also got a first gear eventually. Down pit lane he goes, about to join in.
Yeah, and obviously going to be 2 laps down, but at least he gets some running, and the more running he can get, the more valuable it will be. So he makes his way out of the pit lane exit now to join. Laps can be added on to the race distance if you lose them to a safety car, up to a maximum of 3. So if we lose 1 or 2 or 3 laps, we'll get that increased race distance. So it'll be more than a 14-lap race now. It's going to be at least a 16-lap race because it's another lap behind the safety car. Tom Ingram leads. His massive advantage that he built up gone, wiped out. Dan Camish second, Ash Sutton third, Chris Smiley fourth, Adam Morgan is fifth, sixth is Tom Chilton, seventh is Josh Cook. James Dorlin lost 2 places straight away in lap 1, then lost another to Josh Cook halfway around that first lap. So he's down to 8th place now from 5th on the grid in the Toyota. 9th place is Senna Proctor, 10th Aaron Taylor-Smith, 11th Jake Hill and 12th Charles Rainford. All of them on the soft tyre. There's only 4 drivers on the hard tyre, the red sidewall tyre. Mikey Doble is the best of them at the moment in the Vauxhall, doing OK in 13th place. 14th is Aidan Moffat, who managed to get past his teammate Darrell de Leon, as Darrell was involved in that battle with the Ford Focus of Sam Osborne. Stephen Jelly has been in the pit lane as well, and is now released back onto the circuit after some checks to the car, but of course right at the back of the field. Then Darrell de Leon in 15th place, the last of the point scorers at the moment. Dan Rowbottom on the hard tyre started 15th, he's running 16th, but at least he gets the hard tyre out of the way. He's probably eyeing up a chance to go for it in race 3, the reverse grid race. 17th is number 17, Dexter Patterson. 18th is Max Hall. 19th is Dan Lloyd, who Max had a battle with on the way into Old Hall Corner at the start of lap 2. So Max in 18th place, ahead of Dan Lloyd. On the hard tyre, from the very back of the grid, Gordon Shedden is 20th, Nick Hamilton is 21st, Nick Halstead is 22nd, Sam Osborne has got going again. He's on the hard tyre as well, so that doesn't make life easy. So he's 23rd, Stephen Jelly 24th, having been into the pits and a couple of laps down after his drive shaft failure on the way to the start grid. Is Finn Leslie in 25th place.
Safety car coming in and the race about to resume then, so we should gain a couple of laps for that. So it should be a 16-lap race, and Tom Ingram drives into the go zone and the green flag's wave and the race gets back underway, Chris.
Yeah, and Ash Sutton is looking to try and get around the outside of his teammate Dan Camish, but failing to do so at the moment. Chris Smiley had to go a bit defensive as well because Adam Morgan is looking very racy, trying to get around the outside of him. Didn't quite manage to do it, so they come through Denton's. The Hyundai, run by the Team Virtues squad of Tom Ingram, leads the pack down through Cascades onto Lakeside. Then Josh Cook looks like he's trying to hang on to that Honda a bit. He goes a bit scraggy, a bit wide coming out of the corner, with James Dorlin for company as well. Aaron Taylor-Smith a bit ahead of them, he's getting a bit behind them, he's getting involved in a battle as well. It's 2 abreast in the middle of the pack, including Jake Hill trying to fend off and battle with Josh Cook, so they're side by side. We've got onboard pictures as well here looking from Aaron Taylor-Smith's car, side by side with the BMW of Hill and Rainford. He goes, and Hill field. Did he get past? No, he didn't manage to get past Cook, but he certainly pushed him hard. Maxwell in the background, I think, got some contact from behind and looked like he was about to go into a spin. If he didn't go into a spin, it was sideways. Now he gets sideways. He's got half the back end of the car hanging off. He's completely grass tracking all the way out of the turn at Knickerbrook and onto the grass. Half the bodywork coming off, and Maxwell's going to drop way down the field.
And he's got broken rear left suspension on that car, Chris, so if he makes it back to the pit lane, or back to the line, he'll be before the pit lane, because there's lots of damage on that car. Very good restart from Senna Proctor. He went from 9th to 7th. Meanwhile, on the big screens, we can see how Max Hall picked up that damage. He was trying to get past Dexter Patterson. There wasn't really room. He found the space. Max Hall went through, and then there was contact as Patterson turned in, and that broke the right suspension, and the rear left suspension, rather, and then it got all very, very sideways for Max Hall.
And that's the second time this season that those two teammates have come together, isn't it? Brands Hatch, they both ended up in the Paddock Hill gravel trap.
Patterson's damaged as well, Chris, so here's for the pits.
Oh, and they had words with each other at Brands Hatch, didn't they, Max Hall and Dexter Patterson?
Change down at Cascade, because Aaron Taylor-Smith has just lost one, possibly two positions. His teammate James Dorlin also has lost positions recently, so it's not going quite to plan for the Toyota Gazoo Racing team. And now Josh Cook gets down the inside of James Dorlin. There was a touch there as well. So it's elbows out on Sunday afternoon here at Oulton Park, but trying to fight back now is Aaron Taylor-Smith, who initially made a very good start, went from 12th to 10th, but he's back to 12th position for now, but fighting back on the BMW, right round the outside of the BMW of Aidan Moffat to hang on to that 12th position.
Yeah, great battle going on then. James Dorlin has got his mirrors absolutely full. Josh Cook with a kind of half attempt and some contact on the way out of Island Bend. Another replay on the big screen of more contact. That was earlier on with the Honda of Cook getting completely sent wide, and contact there as into Lodge Corner comes Tom Ingram, about a length, 2 lengths clear of Dan Camish. They've got Maxwell's car in the pit lane, they've got Dexter Patterson's car in the pit lane, and that's going to be a frosty reception between those two drivers, and the team boss not going to be happy with them making contact with each other once again, as the top four, Ingram, Camish, Sutton and Smiley go through. Morgan in 5th, Chilton in 6th, Proctor 7th, Hills up to 8th place, Dorlin 9th, and then it's Cook in 10th place, Rainford up to 11th ahead of Taylor-Smith as they come over the line, and Sam Osborne trying to get back up the order as well. He's got himself on the hard shod tyre, number 77 yellow and blue Ford Focus, onto the tail of Nick Halstead now as they go down towards Cascades, battling over 20th position. Stephen Jelly on his own at the moment, just heading into Old Hall Corner now. So into Island Bend, Charles Rainford is coming under fire here, but just about fending off Aaron Taylor-Smith, although he runs wide on the way out of the corner. The BMW should get pretty good traction up the hill though as they come over hilltop. Rainford just tries to squeeze back to the middle of the circuit so he doesn't leave a gap up the inside, and again he'll manage to fend off Aaron Taylor-Smith, but behind there's more action as Darryl De Leon is trying to have a battle with Mikey Doble. He's doing a good job here in the Astra on the hard tyre, isn't he, Josh?
Yeah, and we saw at Snetterton, if you get the hard tyre out of the way in the first race, you've got a very good chance by the end of the day. That's how Mikey Doble, his strategy worked out, and he is again the first of the drivers on the hard tyres. He's currently in 14th position. On the previous lap, Dan Camish just set the new lap record for the British Touring Car Championship round here, 1 minute 24.450, which was 3 tenths quicker than Tom Ingram. So trying to chase down Tom Ingram is Camish, but I'd suggest Ingram on lap 7 it goes quicker. A new lap record this time for Tom Ingram, 1 minute 24.052. That was 1.2 seconds faster than Dan Camish did on that lap, so the gap goes out to 2 seconds. That is extraordinary pace from the race leader.
It's a bonus point as well, isn't it? So he's got a point for leading a lap, he's got a point at the moment for the fastest lap of the race, and 20 points coming the way of Tom Ingram to give him 22. Ash Sutton at the moment is in 3rd place and would score 15. 7 points the difference. He's 8 behind coming into the race. So if it stayed like this, Tom Ingram would only be 1 point behind Ash Sutton in the fight for the championship.
One thing here, Chris, we saw at Snetterton, drivers thinking, if we were in 3rd, do you actually want to be 4th? So you don't have to have the hard tyres for race 2. Yeah. So Ash Sutton will be thinking about that at the moment as well, I'm sure. Sometimes when you're in the middle of the race, you sort of forget about those things. But engineers, they'll be thinking if that is the correct strategy. But with the weather forecast unknown, you don't want to give away any points, do you? It's so close in the championship. Those 2 points that you would lose, that could be critical at the end of the season. And you'd be devastated if you let somebody pass because of that. But we've heard of drivers talking about that since those races races at Snetterton, 4 weeks ago. Obviously at Fruxton we only had the hard tyre, but it's soft and hard this weekend. And Dan Rowbottom has got himself up ahead of Mikey Doble, so Rowbottom the top of those hard shod drivers now, and he's also gaining position, so good pace from Dan Rowbottom. He's up to 15th. Meanwhile, a big battle for second place up across the line now between the two Napa Racing cars of Dan Camish and Ash Sutton. So Sutton is certainly looking about going forwards and making a few points difference to Tom Ingram, if at all possible.
And the Aaron Taylor-Smith, Aidan Moffat battle continues on the way into Old Hall Corner. The BMW trying to go around the outside of the Hyundai, the Toyota rather, but failing to do so at the moment. So they're having a really good scrap for 12th place. Yeah, Rowbottom was into the top 15 and into the points by 1, but he's dropped back out of it now because Dan Lloyd has got ahead of him. So Dan from the back of the grid now up into 15th place, and 1 championship point for the Yorkshireman, doing a good job. So coming out of the Island Bend hairpin over the crest, Tom Ingram is already heading towards the braking zone for the Hislop chicane. He's got a big healthy 2.7 second lead now over Camish and then Sutton, and then staying with them absolutely is Chris Smiley. He's got the pace, but he just lost those positions at the start of the race. A slight gap back then to the next squabble as onto the grass, and out wide goes James Dorlin and almost gets collected by Josh Cook's Honda as he rejoins, and Josh should have better traction now going up the hill, but Dorlin is sitting in the middle of the racetrack here, defending like mad to try and keep Cook behind him. So they're still 9th and 10th here. Dorlin got away with that. The grass would have been damp, would have been slippy, but he stays into Druids ahead of Cook. So the driver from Somerset was still staring at the back of his car, and we get a replay on the big screen of just how tight that was. Some quick reactions there from Josh Cook to avoid going into the back of the Hyundai as the race leader Tom Ingram goes into Old Hall Corner in now what's a 16 lap race. Tom Chilton, he's looking quick behind the teammates that he's following, Adam Morgan, as they go running in 5th and 6th into Old Hall Corner, but can't yet quite find a way past. So we've now got 9 laps complete. It's a 2-second advantage for Tom Ingram. He's got all the bonus points at the moment because he's still got that fastest lap of the race, but Chilton and Proctor have both put in personal best laps, and Chilton looking like he wants to go forwards now, and he's definitely quicker at this stage into the Island Bend hairpin than the red, white and blue number 33 car of his teammate Adam Morgan.
And of course it's a third team Virtue car in there as well, isn't it, with Senna Proctor, but they've all got Jake Hill, who's on a charge, because Jake Hill started 13th and is up to 8th, so he's catching the 3 team Virtue cars. 2 of them are side by side down towards Hislops because Tom Chilton goes right round the outside, then you have to go left, which gives you the inside line, and that means up to 5th position goes Tom Chilton. He moves ahead of Adam Morgan, and is that going to give Senna Proctor the chance to challenge? He's had a good run here because he started 10th, he's up to 7th and challenging Adam Morgan up the hill towards Druids, which is a tricky place to pass, particularly if it's still damp or flying under the trees. So Senna Proctor backs out of it in 7th position, but this has been a great return to the championship for Senna. Although he runs a little wide, he went very well at Fruxton, and he's continuing that form here into Oulton Park.
He got done for track limits 3 times in qualifying yesterday. It looked like he'd missed out on getting through to Q2 because he lost 2, I think it might have been 3 lap times to track limits. Got through then because Dan Lloyd had his time taken away for failing the ride height, and then he got more laps lost to track limits in the second part of qualifying, and we've had more track limits warnings to other drivers ahead. There is a change going through over the start-finish line into Old Hall Corner as we've got the battling just outside the top 10 now with that Taylor-Smith, Rainford and Moffat battle going on. Moffat getting the better of that 3-way battle at the moment. So the Scotsman in the BMW ahead of the Toyota, which is now going to come under fire from the next BMW of Darryl De Leon. It gets a better run coming out of Cascades onto Lakeside. So Taylor Smith has lost 1 place to a BMW. He might lose another one. There's contact. Moffat hits the back of him, sends him into a spin, and sends the Toyota into his own teammate, Aidan Moffat, who was a completely innocent victim in all of that. So one BMW hits a Toyota, ping-pongs it into his own BMW teammate, and it's poor old Aidan Moffat that gets sent into a half spin and drops down the order.
Aidan Moffat hasn't had huge amounts of luck this season, has he, since joining West Surrey Racing?
He's had no luck.
No.
That's right, Al, and not sure if that's damaged the car at all as well. You'd think it might have done, because that was quite a big impact into the side of Aidan Moffat's car, because Aaron Taylor-Smith with no control of the car after he had contact from behind, and that sent him into the car of Aidan Moffat. You can see that on the big screens now from Darryl De Leon's car. Was Aaron Taylor-Smith just trying to defend as De Leon was looking down the inside? Either way, they're both of them, their races have been compromised. A race that's now had 11 laps of the new distance 16. 15. 2.5 seconds the gap from Tom Ingram to Dan Camish. Still side by side of Josh Cook and James Dorlin. They've been battling for lap after lap, and finally Josh Cook has got the One Motorsport Honda Civic down the inside of James Dorlin, and Dorlin, who qualified so well yesterday, up in 5th position, has now dropped down to 10th.
And an equally good move just behind from Dan Lloyd. He threw his car down the inside of Aaron Taylor-Smith to go 13th, so torrid lap that for Aaron Taylor-Smith, and really good driving this from Dan Lloyd, up to 13th place now from last but one on the grid after being unlucky yesterday when an exhaust component failed. That was what failed in the ride height check, but he was second in his group in qualifying one, and he could well have been right at the sharp end of the grid had that not happened. So Cook finally finding a way into Old Hall Corner past Dorlin, but Dorlin now is trying to menace him and trying to get the position back, so they're going absolutely together here, joined in that battle through that corner by Charles Rainford, who's just outside the top 10. So 9th, 10th, 11th all together. A big tank slapper then from James Dorlin. He gets it slightly wrong again, coming out through Knickerbrook. That's where he went on the grass a couple of laps ago. He got a proper tank slapper on there, but he just stays committed, stays on it and keeps going. But he has lost about half a car length now to Josh Cook as they make their way out of Druids. So Cook in 9th, Dorlin 10th, Rainford looking pretty menacing in 11th place. The race leader going through into Old Hall Corner. We've got a track limits warning for number 32 Dan Rowbottom. And there was 12 laps of the 16 are now done.
Sorry, Chris, there was a challenge for 4th across the line, because all of a sudden, now that Tom Chilton's got past Adam Morgan, he's caught and he's challenging Chris Smiley. Was very wide at Old Hall, though, was Tom Chilton, and picked up, I think, a bit of debris on the way. But a huge pace from Chilton, maybe using some of the boost as well. But he was 6 tenths faster than Chris Smiley on the previous lap. He looks to the outside, down towards the island hairpin, because Smiley defends the inside line, and this is going to bring the rest of the Team Virtue crew towards Chris Smiley as well. So you've got Adam Morgan, Senna Proctor in there as well, and Jake Hill is catching too, the best of the BMWs. But for now, it's the Chris Smiley car that leads that big Hyundai battle for 4th position.
Yeah, and it looks like Lloyd's picking up, or about to pick up, another place coming out of the hairpin as he draws alongside the BMW of Darrell de Leon. Goes over Hilltop. He's got the inside line. He's got the position. Another place gained on this lap then by the number 1, 2, 3 machine of Dan Lloyd, up to 12th place now, having a real good drive here. And he'll be having a free choice of tyres for race 2 as well, because he's unlikely to get up to the top 3. So we're 3/4 of the way through the race now. Tom Ingram is 3 seconds clear. Dan Camish and Ash Sutton are pretty tied together, less than half a second between them. Slight gap back then to Smiley, who's got back away now from Tom Chilton. Adam Morgan is kind of staying on the back of his Hyundai teammate for Team Virtue. They're running 5th and 6th. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Senna Proctor and another Team Virtue Hyundai. Then Jake Hill in the BMW, probably about a length and a half back now as they go into Old Hall Corner. Josh Cook still hasn't got rid of James Dorlin as they go past the commentary box on the way to Old Hall Corner. So a real good scrap, those two. Dorlin driving great guns. A bit of a twitch at Cascades up ahead from the onboard camera position of Ash Sutton. His teammate Dan Camish right on the ragged edge there, but he didn't seem to lose any exit speed. Under braking into the hairpin. Ash, though, goes after his target, closes the gap. Can he keep the momentum going out of Island Bend? He's looking the quicker of the two at the moment in this scrap for second place. Gets on the power early, goes over Hilltop, looks again to the inside, but he's probably a bit too far back to attack. And Ash Sutton sits and waits, but he definitely looks quicker of the two. He's got that car right underneath him. The tyre's looking good, Nick, as well. He makes his way through Hislop chicane, still behind Dan Camish, but looking more and more threatening with 13 and a half of the 16 laps now complete.
And for Dan Camish, one advantage he has got is he's got 2 laps left of the boost, and if he hasn't used the boost on this lap, he can therefore use it for the final 2 laps. That compares to Ash Sutton, who just has that 1 lap of boost for being the championship leader. And just wonder if Camish is using it on this lap, because he's starting to pull away down towards Lodge Corner. So those cars come up across the line, then we'll be able to confirm that to you. Meanwhile, behind, Jake Hill goes down the inside of Senna Proctor to go 7th into Lodge Corner. Can Proctor fight back as they climb the hill up towards the line? That was a lap, by the way, that Camish used the boost, so it's equal now between him and Sutton. They've both got 1 lap of boost left over the final 2 laps. Meanwhile, Jake Hill has taken 7th place, so he's got himself up ahead of Senna Proctor. A very good drive there from Jake Hill from 13th on the grid.
Chilton was on the boost on that lap as well, so rather than 3 laps left, he's got 2 laps left now as he tries to close that gap gap back to Chris Smiley. Onboard camera view here from Dan Lloyd in the Restart Racing Hyundai from almost at the back of the grid. He's got himself well up into the points now, into 12th place. His next target is to try and catch Charles Rainford's white and blue BMW, and he's doing that. He's closing up all the time because Charles Rainford has got a queue of cars in front of him. That battle that's been going on all race long between Josh Cook and James Dorlin, with Cook having the upper hand at the moment. So it's about to become a four-way battle, this, for 9th position as they make their way into the Hislop chicane. The race leader is already making his way up Clay Hill, and Dan Camish has got right away again from Ash Sutton, who was right with him, almost underneath his rear wing a lap ago, but that gap has seriously opened up. Chilton is on it again, closing up now, hopping and skipping over the tarmac as he comes out of Druids, trying to close up to the number 22 Hyundai of the Restart Racing star Chris Smiley. The Northern Irishman breaks first, though, gets into the corner okay and doesn't leave a gap on the way into Lodge Corner. The race leader goes over the line. 15 laps complete then. 1 lap to go for Tom Ingram, on course for a second victory of the season, and 22 championship points that would put him, I reckon, to within a point of the championship leader Ash Sutton. Meanwhile, for 4th place, Smiley is going to have his work cut out here because Tom Chilton is almost with him now, and he's bringing Gander Morgan into that battle as they head towards Island Bend.
Tom Ingram looking to replicate what he did in 2022 and 2024 here last year, where he won the opening race at Oulton Park in that Team Virtue machine. So race 1 at Oulton Park, assuming his last lap goes to plan, 3 times in the last 4 years. Meanwhile, what we talking about, 3rd position, who wants to be 3rd? Ash Sutton isn't putting up a very much big defence to Chris Smiley there.
I think he's got an issue. He's dropped right back, hasn't he, from Dan Camish, and Chris Smiley just drove past him coming out of the section at Island Bend over Hilltop, and he's got through. So Smiley on this final lap of the race ahead of Ash Sutton. Ash Sutton is now potentially come under fire from Tom Chilton as well, and losing that position means that he loses points as well. So Tom Ingram is going to be right up there in the championship fight now. They're going to be tied together.
But he doesn't need to be on hard tyres for the next race, and Dan Robotham on hard 2 seconds a lap slower, so I think this might be a strategy plan from Napa Racing.
Possibly, yeah, possibly so. Let's see if he holds on to the position, because Tom Chilton into Lodge Corner is all over the back of him, and Jake Hill is all over the back of Adam Morgan as well. The checkered flag, though, for Tom Ingram as he comes through to win his 2nd race of the season, takes the 22 maximum points. Camish comes home in 2nd, Smiley in 3rd. Sutton did manage to fend off Chilton on that run to the flag. Morgan just about fended off Hill as well, because they came across the line absolutely side by side with 14 thousandths of a second between them. Morgan just held on to 6th place. There's another photo finish over the line further back as well, with Aaron Taylor-Smith just about holding on to 13th place by 14 thousandths of a second again. This time the gap was between him and Darryl De Leon, who finished in 14th. So Ingram wins, Camish is 2nd, Smiley comes home 3rd, Sutton in 4th place will score 13 points. 22 points are going to come to Tom Ingram. So I reckon Tom is going to be 1 point in front now provisionally in the championship. Yeah, you might be right. Might it have been an issue, or might it have been Sutton backing off and saying, I'll take 4th, I'll take fewer points, because then I can keep the soft tyre for race 2 and go for a race win, because the top 3, Ingram, Camish and Smiley, now have to use the hard tyre. That's the rule in race 2. So Ingram wins, Camish 2nd, 3rd place to Smiley, 4th to Sutton, 5th to Chilton, 6th to Morgan, 7th is Hill, good drive from Jake Hill that, 8th Senna Proctor, 9th Josh Cook, race long battle with James Dorlin, who finished in 10th from 5th on the grid. Charles Rainford was 11th, Dan Lloyd with a great drive through to 12th, Aaron Taylor-Smith 13th, just finishing ahead of Darryl De Leon in 14th, and 15th place, the final points position going to Dan Robotham. Again, a replay of a little nudge coming out of Lodge Corner from Dan Lloyd as he got on the throttle. Aaron Taylor-Smith as he got on the throttle here in that battle with Darryl De Leon, and an absolute photo finish and a replay of the moment that Tom Ingram took his 2nd win of the season and did enough to move into the championship lead by just 1 point ahead of Ash Sutton, who finished that race in 4th position.
But doesn't have to start the next race on the hard tyre, of course, finishing outside the top 3. So it's going to be a fascinating... this season has been fascinating as far as tyre tactics are concerned. And Chris Smiley, of course, will start on the hard tyre for the next race. And that's the way the rules work in 2025. So down at the technical check area, waiting for the drivers to make their way round. They'll go through the basic technical checks when they get here. But just interesting how tactics play a part.
Yeah, absolutely so. He had to. Well, if that's what he did, he had to be careful because he could have easily lost another couple of places on the way into Lodge Corner.
Yeah.
But he did it perfectly, didn't he? We got some replays while you were talking as well, Al, of those 2 photo finishes. So 14 thousandths of a second equates to about 50 centimetres, I reckon, because that's how far Jake Hill was behind Adam Morgan as they crossed the line absolutely together, and the exact same distance, 14 thousandths of a second between Taylor Smith and De Leon, after Taylor Smith found a way through on the exit to Lodge Corner on that final run up through Deer Leap to take the checkered flag, just a few centimetres ahead of Darryl De Leon, and 13th place. Dan Rowbottom, by the way, starting where he finished in 15th, was the best of the runners on the hard tyre. He's now got that out of the way. If you can get somewhere between 6th and 12th in race 2, then he'll have a chance of the reverse grid pole position, because that's the number between 6 and 12 that's drawn out of the globe to decide how many positions are reversed for race 3. Meanwhile, though, Ash Sutton, who didn't have to go to the podium now for finishing in 4th place, comes in, and confirmation that provisionally Tom Ingram, 1 point clear in the championship now, moves ahead of Ash Sutton. 195 points for Tom, 194 for Ash. Dan Camish moving up to 3rd place in the championship on 145 ahead of Dan Rowbottom, who just got 1 point there, and he's on 133. And Jake Hill still 5th on 123 points now.
Technical checks are complete for Tom Ingram. He's given the sign to pull out of the technical check area and pull up towards the number 1 board in Park Fairmate. I can see the ITV crew are down here, and Louise Goodman is down here as well. But the way it's been working this year with ITV's broadcast, I generally get that they're in a break. Okay, thank you, Lou. So ITV in a break, which means we should be able to get the first word with Tingram when he gets out of the car. He opens the door, pulls himself out on the roll cage, and we'll get the cheer from the team sponsors. 2 bashes on the roof of the car, which fortunately bounces back out as well. A punch of the ITV camera lens and goes over to Chris and to Leslie Hansford on the Tingram cars. Always you see Hansford sensors. They are long-time supporters of Tom Ingram, and then with his partner Laura, big hugs right the way down the order, and Spencer, his engineer, he's still got his helmet on at the moment, and then to Marvin Humphreys, who is the team manager for the Hyundai Accelerate team, the Team Virtue car, and the double winner and now championship leader takes off his gloves and is just unbuckling the helmet. He'll be given a Goodyear cap and will then do his ITV interviews. He's collecting his thoughts, working out what he's going to be saying on ITV in a couple of moments, and I'll dive in and say, that's you leading the championship then.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, yeah, will be. Yeah, of course. Fantastic news.
Doing the old mathematics.
Really good. Yeah, my maths isn't that good, if I'm honest.
Nor is mine.
Driving around in circles I can do, but I can't really do much else, and maths is definitely not one of them.
And this weekend you're driving around in circles really rather well.
Thank you. It feels special. It feels pretty special to be driving this thing at the minute. This feels like I hate to say it, but a bit of a once-in-a-lifetime car. It is astoundingly good.